Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. A big welcome to everyone. My name is Laura and I am delighted that you are joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I am joined by Frank and Dan, who will talk to you guys about the features of generative AI workloads on Azure. We love hearing what you have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is @ESPC community and our hashtag is #ESPC24. So tweet us at us and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which we update daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Getting Started with Microsoft 365 Governance and Compliance with Sasha Pranja. This webinar takes place on Monday, the 22nd of January from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. CET. And if you want more information on this webinar, you can check out our website, sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. The ESPC 24 call for speakers is now open. Be part of something truly special. Speak and engage with the leading experts, IT professionals, developers, and business decision makers at ESPC, Europe's premier Microsoft 365 and Azure conference. As the pace of new developments, announcements, and innovations, it keeps on growing, 2024 is sure to be another transformative and dynamic year for all things Microsoft 365 and Azure. At ESPC, we will bring the community together across 4 special days, from tutorials to track sessions and keynote presentations, to share knowledge, form meaningful connections, tackle the challenges, and seize the opportunities that this presents. So this is your chance to take a leading role within the conference and the community, sharing your in-depth knowledge, your passion and experience with your peers, in turn helping empower the Microsoft 365 and Azure community to professional success. You can find out more about the ESPC 24 call for speakers at sharepointeurope.com/submit-speak-ESPC. The link is there on the screen. Elevate your Microsoft Power Platform work ethic and supercharge your savings. You can save a whopping €500 on European Power Platform Conference 2024 tickets. This year, the European Power Platform Conference is taking place in the wonderful city of Brussels in Belgium. So do hurry and join us, as this offer is only valid until the 31st of January. And again, you can visit sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference pricing to snatch up this fantastic offer. So, as always, if you have a question at any stage, please feel free to type it into the questions window and Dan and Frank will answer it during the webinar. And this webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenters, Frank and Dan. Hello guys, thanks for joining us today.
How you doing, Laura?
Excellent. Welcome, Frank.
So can we do the other deck first?
Sure.
The one feature generative AI. Yeah.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Myself, Frank Falvey, and I'm here in Cork in Ireland. And we've got Dan Ray. He's a Microsoft MVP, and he's joining us from Chicago in the United States. I'm going to do some slides here, give you an overview of workloads on Azure. The first set of slides here are these were actually all generated in Microsoft Designer, which is an AI tool Microsoft has. and I'm going to show you a little bit about what actually Azure is, and I'm going to do a small little bit about machine learning, and then I'll go into the features of generative AI workloads on Azure. And Dan has some nice demonstrations for us, some kind of wow features from Copilot, and Hey Jen, I think is another one. Dan, is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Both those.
So this this first deck here that we have is the features of generative AI workloads on Azure, and all the pictures here on this on the screen were all designed with AI. So you just go back to the first one there, then again. So I have a small bit there, right? So in the realm of artificial intelligence, the advent of generative models have sparked unparalleled innovation across various industries. These models, capable of creating new content and data, have revolutionized the way we approach creativity, problem solving, and data generation. Microsoft Azure is a leading cloud computing platform. I'll cover a bit more of that in a minute. Offers a rich array of features tailored specifically for generative AI workloads, empowering developers and businesses to explore frontiers of AI creativity. So just move on to the next slide there, Dan. So we've got highly scalable infrastructure. So as you can just see the pictures there, like these are kind of wow pictures that I just put in highly scalable infrastructure into the designer, the AI designer, and this is what it gave me. It's like, wow. So Azure provides a robust and scalable infrastructure that allows users to effortlessly scale their generative AI workloads. And leveraging Azure's vast computational resources, developers can handle large-scale generative tasks effortlessly, ensuring seamless performance and quick turnaround times. So we'll just go on to the next slide there, Dan. Thank you. So Azure Machine Learning Services. The platform offers comprehensive machine learning services that facilitates the training, deployment, and the management of generative models. Azure Machine Learning enables users to build sophisticated pipelines, experiments, and various architectures, and deploy models seamlessly the entire generative AI workflow. So we'll just move on to the next one there then. So pre-trained models and tools, and I just remind you, this prompt at the top, I just put that into the designer, and this is the image it gave me. I didn't have to do anything, so it's just amazing what the AI can do. So Azure hosts an array of pre-trained models and tools tailored for generative tasks, accelerating development and reducing time to market for AI projects. With access to models like GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformers, that's what it stands for, tools such as Azure Cognitive Services, developers can kickstart their own projects and fine-tune models according to their specific requirements. So we just move on to the next slide there then. So these Azure Cognitive Services, I just reminding you again, that's all I put into the designer, and this is what it gave me. wow picture like. So these services offer APIs for computer vision, natural learning processing, and speech recognition, among others. This suite can be utilized in conjunction with other generative models to enhance capabilities, enabling tasks like content moderation, language translation, image generation, just like I did there, with remarkable accuracy. So any of these pictures, I didn't edit them at all. The AI just gave them to me as is, and I just copy pasted them into the slide. So just move on to the next slide there, Dan. So this one, integration with Azure Databricks. So Azure Databricks, they provide collaborative environment for big data and AI workflows, integrating generative AI with Databricks. This allows efficient data processing for model training and experiments, fostering innovation and insight discoveries within large data sets. So picture again, designed by Microsoft Designer with the prompts up the top. I just typed in integration with Azure Databricks, and this is exactly what it gave me back. Cool. So then next one.
You could put the slide title into the, you can edit the image once created, but like you said, Frank, you just dropped in the images the way they were designed, right?
Yeah, I didn't edit anything. The AI done everything. So I just done it for the demonstrate, for just to cover the image part of the AI. Yeah. So the security and compliance part within Azure prioritize security and compliance, offering robust measures to safeguard sensitive data, like something like any of your data that's on Azure at rest is always encrypted. It ensures regulations, from GDPR, and all those different countries have all their different regulations, and Azure complies with those. With features like Azure Confidential Computing, users can deploy generative AI workloads in secure enclaves, protecting your data throughout the entire processing pipeline. So just move on to the next one there, Dan. When we were talking about the security there last time, we have GDPR here in Europe. Is there a standard in the US that you have?
There's quite a few. So some are government regulations, financial regulations, healthcare. There's HIPAA in the US.
HIPAA, yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah. So just a brief on the cost-effective solution. So Azure has a flexible pricing model. It's a pay-as-you-go option. So basically, you only just pay for what you use. If you spin up a VM and you have it up for an hour and you spin it off, you just get charged for that hour. That's it. So it's got flexible price plans as well. So if you were going to run a VM, we say for 1 to 3 years, you could get a discount of up to 60 to 70% on a VM, so which is very good. So users can optimize cost by scaling resources, based on your workloads, ensuring effective resource utilization. You can automate stuff to spin up and shut down to save the costs as well, So that's it. Just move on to the next one there, Dan. So So this is another cool picture that the AI came up, and all I just put in there was conclusion, and there it came up. So generative AI on Azure presents a powerful amalgamation of cutting-edge technology and robust infrastructure, like empowering developers and businesses to explore endless possibilities of AI and creativity. With scalable resources, comprehensive tool sets, and it's committed to security. So Azure stands in the front runner in enabling the next wave of innovation with generative AI. So that's kind of that slide deck there, Dan. So will we go to the one there with the kind of brief? Yeah, just so for people who are not sure what Azure is, Azure is a cloud platform. So it's low cost, as I said earlier. It's got those pay-as-you-go models, or you can get 1 to 3 years and you can get 60 to 70. So that covers that part. It's reliable, it's secure. You can increase scalability. So if you, or we say a business like an accountant, where one part of the year people send you in loads of stuff that they have to do, you can actually spin up some more storage on Azure, and you can spin up more resources for that particular month when accountants get very busy. And then when you're finished at the end of the month, then you can shut all these things down. So that's the kind of increased scalability. So you can, it's like elasticity, you can scale it up, scale it down. So it's very easy to manage your data on it. There you can see there, fast time to market. So you can just minutes put something up online, like a website, a web app, or anything like that, on file shares, you name it. There's a marketplace up in Azure. You can get anything from security to Databricks to databases like Cosmos DB, or if you need a SQL Server, everything on there. So just move on to the next slide there then. So these are the Azure regions. I think my last count, I think there was something over 140. Would I be right there, Dan?
I think it's 60 regions, but over 140 locations. So a region,
okay,
just a geographic boundary, but the physical data centers are well over 100.
yeah. So as you can see there in the map, there's a lot of them there in America. Yeah, so on this yeah, that slide is slightly outdated, as you were saying there, then, like it's 55 here on this one, and as you said, there's over 60 now, so it's increasing all the time.
Here's some of the new ones that are coming online.
Oh, very good.
Expansion in Denmark, new data center region, Chile, West US 3, Malaysia. So you can see quite a few new ones, bringing the number above 60, and then that number of physical locations continues to grow as well as new regions are brought online.
Yeah, so you can see there, I'm in Europe there. Northern Europe is where Ireland is located, and yeah, so Western Europe then, some of the regions are actually paired with each other. So like if I want to back up my stuff from Ireland to another region, Northern Europe is actually paired with Western Europe, and that's in Holland. So your data is separated by regions. So that's the kind of geo part of the regions. That's just to give you kind of a flavor for what Azure is. So just move on to the next one there then.
Sure.
So this is kind of an architectural kind of look, kind of a map of the whole infrastructure. So the governance and compliance there down the bottom. You see all the different types of storage. You can actually find this online. It's actually a cool thing. It gives you all the different strands, all the different branches in the Azure portal. So over on the left hand side there's all the security part, which would give you Azure Sentinel. That's the kind of AI part that actually scans the Azure infrastructure for any anomalies. So yeah, so let's just kind of brief look at the security part of it. The networking then is above that, and there's a monitoring platform. So yeah, so just move on to the next slide there then. I'm just kind of conscious of the time.
Sure.
So yeah, so this is a small overview of the Azure machine learning. The Microsoft, just go on to the next slide there then.
Sure.
So you could use your laptop or you can use the cloud here. So for the machine learning services, Microsoft has a machine learning studio at the moment. It's the classic version, as far as I know. It's going, this is the last year of it. They're actually moving over to a new platform, which is Azure Machine Learning Service. But it's very easy to use. You don't need to use any coding. It's just kind of drop and drag sort of scenario. So you can see how you can actually deploy your models. You can either deploy them in the cloud using SQL servers, virtual machines, containers, Internet of Things. So that's kind of where you can actually train your models, you know. So they're using GPUs now at the moment for speed for AI. So just move on to the next one there then. So this is the types of learning in the machine learning stuff. So you got supervised learning, reinforced learning. So like the supervised one there to start, it's yeah. So an example of supervised learning there in the bottom there can kind of give you, you can use it as an email spam detector, you know, for training stuff, emails that are already labeled and stuff like that. So the next one over there then is reinforced learning. An example of that one is learn to play chess by winning or losing. So that's a kind of reinforced one. The next one then is unsupervised learning, discovering patterns and in unlabeled data. So an example is that is cluster similar documents based on text and content. So that's kind of unsupervised stuff. So just move on to the next one then. So this is a kind of higher level look at the machine learning. So you see your unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and the reinforced one. So you got kind of structured data. You could have image classification. You could use it for forecasting, doing predictions, different insights to stuff. You could use it for marketing, big data visualization. So you can do a lot of stuff. You can gaming, AI, and that there. So just move on again, Dan. So these are kind of steps that you take when you're setting up your machine learning stuff. So we say if you were using an Excel sheet now with a lot of data in it, you just import your data and you'd probably clean up your data first if you had any missing lines or stuff like that. So you just clean up your data before you go, and that's kind of preparing your data. And you've got automated machine learning stuff then where, you know, you could just set it up to drop and drag data into stuff and it'll just run away itself. So that's a kind of brief overview of that there. So the next one, Dan. Yeah, so that's Python is, this is kind of, if you're using Python to train your models on Azure, this is kind of like the architecture stuff of it. So you'd use the new Azure machine learning service that I was just saying there. You could use the one up on top there, blob storage, so you can just drop and drag your data into just a container and use that for training your models. So that's kind of a brief overview of the machine learning side of things there. We have another slide at the end of that then, or
Yeah, I think
so
that's
that's a kind of picture of the machine learning studio there that I was saying earlier. This is in its final year, so they're going to replace this one. So they've got loads of, if you go into this and you don't have to know any code, Microsoft already have all these templates that you can use to pick something that is kind of along the same lines as you want. So if you just wanted do stuff on marketing, you could pick up a marketing template, or if you wanted to do something about car sales or whatever like that, you could just pick that one. And it has all the mathematical stuff like classification, regression, all that kind of stuff inside there as well. And you don't have to know anything about all the mathematics behind it. Microsoft has, I think it might be the next slide there, Dan, will you just move on?
Yep.
Yeah, so Microsoft has this thing here. It's so you just look at this template and see what you want to do with your data. And the middle part here, where you can see all the pipelines inside, it's a drop and drag basically. If you're importing your data and the arrow goes down and you're processing your data and you're splitting your data, so you just drag those arrows from one box to the other, and if things don't line up, it won't connect. So if the arrows connect up, you'll get a green light and you know you're good to go. So like if you were using regression over classification or something like that, you know, it wouldn't work for your particular template. So that's kind of that's the machine learning studio overview. I think that's the end of that one, Dan.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the drop and drag thing, as I was saying there. Look, that's inside in the thing, and you can see over. If you wanted to clean your data, you can just drag in a piece to clean your data, as you can see there on the screen. Yeah. Yep. So just go on to the next PowerPoint there, then the one that you actually created with the AI.
So here we have a couple examples of generative AI being used by Microsoft in Copilot. This is the Word version of Microsoft, the application version. So Copilot, if it's associated now with your account, you have the ability to come to the right-hand side and choose Copilot, and then tell it different things to do. So here, I said create a presentation based on a document that had all of the headlines that Frank showed. And what Copilot does is gives me different slides that it would recommend based on the slides that we had in the presentation, the first presentation that we went through. I can also use generative AI in PowerPoint to do the same types of things. I can either ask it to create slides, create presentations, and then instead of it having to look for just the graphic separately, and then Frank bringing the graphic into PowerPoint, what I can do here is just prompt the Copilot with either the information I'd like on a slide or the images that I would like to use, and generative AI does all of the work on the back end. So in this case, same concept with features of generative AI workloads on Azure. Azure went out and picked a processor as the image to use and put in some of the bullet points that I requested. And so let's look at this live here. If I go to a slide and I say, create a slide in the lower right about Azure Cognitive Services. We'll see this going out to the service, looking things over, and then pulling together what I've requested. So all of the things that Frank talked about in the first deck, Copilot would bring together for us right within the context of PowerPoint. So I can either ask it to create slides, create presentations, or modify existing information in each of the Microsoft applications. The other thing I can do specifically in PowerPoint, so if I had this presentation already created and I've got it uploaded to the cloud, I can go to PowerPoint.new to create a new PowerPoint from an online perspective. And then once I'm in PowerPoint, just need to make sure I'm logged in as the right account here. PowerPoint.new. There we go. And we'll log in as the correct account here. And Frank, this is using the same capabilities that I sent you a license for to play around with Copilot as well. Really appreciate your help with all these different webinars and sessions that we do. So now we should be able to go to say portal.office365.com using the account that has a Copilot license, and then bringing up one of those presentations live. And from the presentation, if I go into slideshow, for instance, I have the ability to rehearse with Coach. So in the same way that Frank talked about using our cognitive services within Azure itself,
Do we have to loosen your sound there, Dan? Think you might be gone on mute there, Dan, eh? Can you hear me there, Dan?
Window. Let's see if it's the window. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha. Can hear you.
Hopefully it's working again.
Yeah, you're perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, so what happened was PowerPoint's Rehearse with Coach listened to me and with the body language was looking at whether I was making eye contact, any repetitive language I use. So if I read my slides, for instance, it would pay attention to that. It looks for the words that I choose to use while I'm presenting. And then it also looks for any pronunciation and pitch variation. So if I'm not using vocal variety as I'm speaking, maybe I'm getting quieter, maybe I'm getting a little louder, maybe I'm getting excited about something, it's looking for the pitch. And then the body language looks for a clear view, the distance, and making sure that you're making eye contact with the actual camera within your meeting. So that's an example of the cognitive services that we talked about within Azure applications. And then in the same way that we were able to look at Copilot from a standpoint of Microsoft's services, HeyGen.com allows us to create instant avatars from videos. So you can see my background here. I'm sitting in my dining room at home. I've got a gigantic painting behind me. And the day that I recorded these avatars, I was wearing a purple shirt. And so within HeyGen, I have the capabilities of bringing in different videos and using those videos for messages that I might want to create. So under the create video, I can either do portrait, maybe for Instagram or Facebook, Reels, TikTok. And by bringing those in, all I have to do is type in what I want to say. For Azure AI Week. And then from there, I have the capability of listening.
Thanks for having us at the ESPC webinars for Azure AI Week.
Part of the training for this model was to go ahead and let the AI train on my voice as well as my image.
Thanks for having us at the ESPC webinar.
And then I can actually play the scripts to make sure the pronunciation is correct within the environment and submit this in the upper right. I have credits that are available and can go ahead and submit this to be generated. And then there are different ways to use your credits. So I can see that my very, very short video in this case is being processed online. And once available, like these other two, 30 seconds, 16 seconds, this one's probably going to fall into the 5 to 10 second range from a video perspective. As soon as it's available, I can either download the video, play it, share it from this platform. And Ali K. Miller, who is a AI specialist, posted this. She has over 1.3 million followers on LinkedIn. So a little more of a following than Frank or myself combined have on LinkedIn. But she is somebody that I've been following in the AI realm for quite a while. She put together a video with this service and posted, I think it was on Instagram originally or TikTok. It was on one of her other channels besides LinkedIn. And that's how I discovered this service, was through somebody else. They just had a webinar yesterday about using this technology for webinars. So imagine if Frank and I didn't necessarily have to be here live, or we could script what we wanted to say as opposed to having to say it.
Thanks for having us at the ESPC webinars for Azure AI Week.
So in this case, as it's generated, it's not only using my image, my voice to actually speak, but able to say whatever I want. So if I made a mistake, if it mispronounced something, all I have to do is correct that within the script, and my avatar can speak in the ways that we talked about so far. And then finally, Frank talked about Designer. Designer.microsoft.com is Microsoft's designer application. We have several ways now that Designer has been put to take some of these repetitive or tasks that we might have, such as generative erase. So if I have an image on my computer that I want to process and remove some of the background on, so I could bring in a particular image here. Let's see if I've got a good example of something I might want to remove the background on. We'll do this one with the image of me.
So you just upload that to Designer then, yeah?
Yep. And then what you have the ability to do is actually ask it what you'd like to remove from a generative erase perspective. So I had a photo in another design where there were people in the background. And this keeps track of all your previous designs, so I can see all the previous designs that I've used. And then with generative erase, for example, I was able to remove the person that was standing next to Rose Allen. So there were actually 3 of us in this picture originally, and generative erase pulled out the 3rd person, so the focus is really on the 2 of us at Microsoft Ignite in Chicago, Illinois, the first Microsoft Ignite conference. So you can either start with a blank canvas like Frank talked about, and I can type in something. I can start with an image. So if I have an idea of, I want those, that same type of image that we used from, this is Microsoft Ignite 2023, or sorry, 2015 in Chicago. I could say Microsoft Conference 2024. And then based on creating an image, and I could get more creative in my image request, I get all of these different generated items, either pulling out the background and focusing on me, or including the background. I can customize from here. And you can do a lot with these, either from a standpoint of video, downloading in different formats. So we can see up here, I could download as a true video, a GIF or graphic interchange format, or a PNG solid photo. And then I can also use this in different applications. So if my post and my use for this was to raise awareness for something on LinkedIn, I could say, going live with Frank Falvey on ESPC 24 in Central Europe. And then from there, I can use generate to actually change this to something else. And then go ahead and decide what I'd like to do from a review perspective. And then pull this information into something that I share on LinkedIn. So publish to LinkedIn in the upper right. I think this actually is having problems getting to my LinkedIn account, so I might have to reestablish the connection. Then under manage profiles is where I can tell it either Facebook, Instagram business, or LinkedIn as places that I can post the actual generated image. Designer is also where Microsoft has started working with the fact that others might want to use the same types of prompts that I created or came up with. So if I said, create a Funko Pop of Frank and Dan wearing Microsoft t-shirts, I can go ahead and generate that image. I could give it more explicit characteristics of, Dan wearing glasses, Frank not having glasses. So Dan wearing glasses and Microsoft t-shirts, talk about the hair, talk about other aspects of the Funkos that I want generated from this. And then from the generation, I can also go in and create this as a prompt with variables. So instead of saying Frank and Dan, I could say that is a field where you could say create a Funko Pop of maybe 2 different people, or get into specifics about the people. Glasses in this case is another thing that I want to define as a custom field. Maybe that's a hat. Maybe that's the type of branding that I want. Same thing with Microsoft in this case. I could use that as a custom field, so somebody could think about maybe wearing another brand or type of shirt in this case.
Could we wear leprechaun hats then? Do you think
Yeah.
it would pull out that one?
Yeah, so once you've copied that, you can send this to other people, and then instead of having the specifics, Frank and Dan wearing leprechaun, you might have to help me with the spelling of that. Is it L-E-P?
Yeah. E-R-C-H.
A-N?
And I'd say it should pick up if it was wrong spelling as well, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll. There we go.
Yeah.
And let's say we're wearing Xbox polos. Yeah, so you get the idea that each of those generative prompts, once you get the generation the way you want, you can put in prompts for others to use, so that in this case it looks like it got one of us in a leprechaun shirt and green, and then the other in what doesn't look like an Xbox polo, but we could do something like this.
It put the leprechaun hat on the left-hand side there, the picture.
Oh yeah, thanks. I didn't say hat.
Yeah.
Microsoft Surface, and let's say leprechaun hats. Yeah, and we see the hat on the left. Good point. So let's see if this with wearing. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
We'll have to
So
keep
facial hair and things could be part of your prompt. And then if you define those as variables, when you send the link, somebody gets those as something that they can just replace. Or in this case, I could go in and edit the entire prompt. So that's a little bit about what you can do when you're using your designer for either creating new images, removing background images. There's tons that Microsoft is doing with Designer. Designer has been out just over a year now and is available at designer.microsoft.com. You can just sign up for it. There's a limited test that they're doing on mobile platforms for Designer. And then Copilot just this week has become available to others to license through their applications. So Excel is probably the last of the 3 applications that are part of the Office applications. If I come into, go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say it's inside in PowerPoint as well.
Yes. Yep. So we showed in PowerPoint one of the use cases. Let's see if Excel.new is going to work for me or not. Looks like it's bringing me back to this page instead of where it normally does. So we could go to our portal. Microsoft or Office 365, and then go into Excel Online, and then tell it we want to use a stock list. And then based on this type of list, I've got 500 different stocks that are on the S&P 500. We can see that Microsoft provides me information like the 52-week high and the 52-week low. With Copilot on the far right, I can ask it about the table and make inferences on the data. So I could say, calculate price compared to 52-week high. So it's looking for the table. You have to define a table for Excel to work with Copilot. And then I have the ability to suggest that this be made into a column or do sorts and filters. Here it's suggesting that we look at price divided by 52-week high, and we insert this as a column. And so now I have a percentage of how close is the latest price that I've received for a stock compared to its 52-week high, and I get a percentage. The closer to 100, the closer the current price is to the 52-week high. I could do the same thing with low. And then if I wanted to sort by something like we've hit an all-time high for a stock, we're essentially 100%. Maybe those are indications that I want to sell the stock. If it's over 100%, that means the price has not been reflected by the 52-week high. And I get that type of information from Copilot in Excel. If we look at Word, Word surfaces Copilot in the upper right as well, but also allows me to use Copilot right from within Word. So create a overview of Azure machine learning. So all I want is an overview of Azure machine learning. I could do this in Outlook to send as an email. I could do this in Word to send as a maybe a takeaway from this. And in this case, it's building out my entire outline or my entire overview of the topic and doing that work for me. Copilot, because it has an understanding of the context of Microsoft 365, I could also ask it questions within my organization. So in the same way that we've done this, I could ask Copilot in the right, to summarize recent meetings. And it can go out and look from an organization perspective at different things that I have within this tenant. And the sandbox has about 200 or more MVPs, Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals, from around the world in it. So it's not based on the document, but it's asking for more information. So if I go to the portal again, one of the things I can bring up is the Copilot from a standpoint of the sandbox, and either have it generate what's new or summarize my emails from last year. Say I was on vacation last part of December. It's going to look for my emails within this environment, combing through the emails that it's found. Jared from Microsoft gave an example of using this to maybe put it into a table or summarize and mark my important emails. So you can see that I've sent email to Becky, Paul Robichaud, Sarah Fenna, and Peter Rising. And I get all of that information right here within Copilot. It's also surfaced in Microsoft Teams as well. So if I'm in particular meetings on a regular basis, and I log in as the right account here, let's see if we can do that in this window here. Sandbox.com. Type my password correctly. There we go. Do a little authentication for security. Frank brought up the security in Azure. This is taking into account the account that I'm using, the device I'm on, and my physical location. So I can bring that information to tenant admins. So here I can either catch up on messages, get calendar info, summarize emails, help me write, or even brainstorm. So taglines based on Azure machine learning. Or based on, I think this can also use applications or files that I have within my environment. So I don't think it's got the, there we go, generative AI. So we're pointing it to a particular PowerPoint. Unleash the power of generative AI with Azure. Explore new frontiers in AI with Azure's generative AI features. There I've got 10 things that we could use maybe if we're trying to come up with a title for this session in particular. So lots of different ways. Any other questions or?
It's incredible the amount of advancements in just 12 months.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Laura has any questions for us.
Thanks a million, Frank and Dan, for a great presentation and a fantastic demo. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions window now. So there's just one question in here, and someone is asking, what does highly scalable infrastructure mean in the context of cloud computing platforms like Azure?
So highly scalable infrastructure refers to the ability of cloud computing platforms such as Azure to expand our contract resources seamlessly in response to changing demands and workflows. This scalability ensures that users have access to additional computational power, storage, or network resources whenever they need it, without disrupting or any downtime. Like in the case of Azure, it means that your workloads increases, the platform can automatically allocate more virtual machines, storage capacity, or any other resources really that's on the Azure platform. So that's what highly scalable infrastructure means on Azure.
Brilliant, thanks a million, Frank. So there's just one more question then. And someone is wondering, what are Azure machine learning services and how do they facilitate the development of AI models?
So Azure Machine Learning Services encompasses a suite of tools and services provided by Microsoft Azure, designed to streamline the entire life cycle of the AI model development. Right, these services offer a comprehensive platform that enables developers and data scientists to build, train, deploy, and manage machine learning models efficiently. So with Azure Machine Learning Services, users can access diverse functionalities such as automated machine learning, experimental management, model deployments, and integration with various Azure services. So I hope that answers that.
And here's the pricing from a machine learning perspective. So there's calculators on Azure's site for how much these services would cost to actually run on different size virtual machines. Great question.
Fantastic. That seems to be all the questions that we have in here today, guys. So we might just wrap up the session there. But on behalf of the ESPC community, I just want to extend a huge thank you to you both, Frank and Dan, for taking the time today to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
That's the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today. Take care, and I hope that you'll join us again soon. Bye, everyone.